everybody. Welcome to this talk about increasing basket spend by tailoring customer service. I'm joined by Marcus from Artisan Food Club, Kate from Holtwhites Bakery, and Jan from Broadway Deli. So if we could start off with introductions, please. Marcus, you start.
Yeah, you start. You're
my name's Marcus Carter. I founded the Artisan Food Club about 10 years ago, and I help small independent brands find innovative retailers. But I spend a lot of time in retail shops, and I see a lot of good and bad things.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm co-owner and founder of Holtwhites Bakery in Deli in Enfield. We set up our first, me and my husband Richard set up our first bakery, retail bakery 11 years ago now, and we recently opened our second. We're also a wholesale producer and supplier, and as well as breads and cakes, we also have a range of deli items that we aim to complement our baked goods.
And my name is Jan Robijns. I'm the owner of the Broadway Deli and Grocery. As such, I'm a retailer that Marcus spends a lot of time. We sell fine food or stuff for the finer things in life, and that's basically the summary of what we do.
Thanks, guys. So increasing basket spend is actually quite a long-term investment for a business. How would you say that people should start on their journey to increasing basket spend? Marcus.
My general sort of feeling is that a lot of consumers enter a shop wanting to buy something, and it's often they're left alone. That there's not a journey. They're not welcomed. They're not supported in the retail shop. You know, a lot of people. Now I understand shops are busy. Stock needs putting out. Bins need emptying, shelves need cleaning, but you know the consumers are king in a retail shop, and quite often I see consumers sort of almost interfering with the day-to-day running of the shop, and it's a cultural thing, and some shops have got it down pat, like Jan and Kate, and other shops, you know, I can spend an hour in the shop, either with the buyer observing what's going on. And so many consumers are not cared for, in a sense. And I'll talk too much now. But a lot of consumers want to buy things, but their fear of making the wrong decision prevents them from making a purchase. And I so often see that, you know, somebody just needs a little bit of advice, a little bit of help. But it's a big cultural change.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. From our point of view, I think we're obsessed with our product, and we completely believe in our product, and we're passionate about it. And really, it's about getting that message across to the customer. Because customer service is kind of the second, but equally most important part of our business. Just greeting your customers as they come through the door and making them feel welcome is really, really important. And I think that's what sets us apart from, you know, a supermarket where people walk in and they're anonymous. We want customers to come into our store and feel welcomed and helped in the process of, you know, their purchases. Definitely.
I agree. Can everybody hear us? Because I can't hear us very well. Okay. You can't hear us. So let me start there. So one of the most important things in a shop is that people hear you and see you. In our case as well, I mean, we want people to come in a shop which we always brand as, we try to make a shop where we like to shop. So all the stuff that you find in our store, for instance, are things that we like. Because if I like it, you might like it too, is the idea. And that gives us the best way of selling it, because we've tasted it, we've tried it, we like the story, we like the price. That's one very important thing. Another very important thing for us is that we keep sort of making a plan on what does this shop want to be. And that plan might change every 6 months or 12 months. The top line obviously not. We are always going to be a very nice shop, artisanal, independent, and so on with that extra quality that we bring as independents. But we do need to be sort of on the ball of not being afraid to change sort of the concept a little bit, or the business plan around it, on where we're going to focus on, because it keeps us fresh. As many of you probably will know, is that whatever happens in the independents, if it works, it's going to be taken by the multiples or by the bigger brands or the bigger distributors, and you're basically old news because they get it cheaper. That happened with the vegan, the meat alternatives. You saw that as a very big example, where suddenly that was widely available in all the supermarkets. And that's fine. We can always take credit for being the first, right? But we need to continue being the first. That's about the shop. For me, if I just may keep on babbling here, our approach to customer service is that we do it one person at a time. So everybody that comes into our shop, we greet them. That's for two reasons. One, they know that we're there. And two, it keeps the shoplifting down, because nobody comes in without being seen. We don't have these magnetic ports at the door, but we have a lot of product, and expensive product. But we want you to know that we're there to help you. We have stories about everything. And I think it's also a good practice to remember that the Wolf of Wall Street movie, about buying a pen. You need to approach people for what they want, not for what you want. And that is one of the things that me, as a foreigner in this country, as a Dutchman, I'm wildly annoyed by customer service in this country. Especially like yesterday, I went to a beautiful pub in a beautiful location, and it was horrific. I mean, everything was wrong. And the customer service, the whole idea of what I think is a very ultimately British, is trying to create your whole customer service around not looking at your customer, but looking at how can we minimize costs, how can we make the process so that we have at least interaction with a customer, which I think is wrong, really wrong. And therefore we excel, because people come to us and they get great customer service, and nobody else does it, except for you guys, of course.
Yeah.
So that is where we hop on, and we continue building on that one person at a time. And you come back, we continue with you until sort of we warn you out. But that for us is really important, because you've had all these initiatives about Getter or fast selling, where people can order and somebody comes and shop from you, and within a half an hour they have it at home. But all these companies, I read the other day, are now collapsing because it's been a hype. And I personally don't believe in quick wins, because quick wins are usually very fast falls. And so that's why we like to build it gradually, but our foundation is strong. And that is a long breath that you need to take. It's like investing in a fruit and veg section. For weeks and weeks you are spending money on fruit and veg, and nobody comes and buys it. But if you want to position it, you need to continue investing, and that is how we do it with customer service.
Just an interesting point. I do a lot of work with butchers, and butchers are, I'm not suggesting over the next 12 months, but butchers are bomb-proof because their relationship with their customers is personal. People don't shop around with the butchers. You buy your meat from a butcher because the interaction is one-on-one every time. It's conversation, it's recommendation, it's advice on how to cook. You go home and have a good experience, you go back to the butcher, and it's almost trying to think, how do you bring that culture into your shop, where I'm dealing with consumers on a one-to-one basis, which is what Jan's talking about. Fishmongers, butchers. I mean, most of the butchers I know don't really know about the economic climate, because their customers are very loyal. Their customers don't shop around. Their customers don't eat less meat. But they still go back to that one butcher and spend more and more money because they trust him, because it's one-to-one all the time. Whereas in a deli or a farm shop, you can have customers that come in and out the shop 10, 15 times without actually ever really talking to anyone. And sometimes they may never talk to anyone. They just buy their stuff, pay at the till and leave. And I'm like, but you had somebody in your shop for 15 minutes and you don't know anything about them. And then you've got other companies that are online that spend thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds, in fact I might even say millions of pounds, trying to find out information about their customers, yet you've got an actual customer in your shop and you don't talk to them. That's just my opinion. But yeah.
So that the communication is obviously from staff members is incredibly important, but I guess some staff members will be more comfortable with being welcoming, being conversational with customers. How do you make sure in your recruitment process that you're recruiting the right kind of people, and what kind of people do you want in your store?
I think for us, the most important thing is we recruit people who are friendly and who want to give that personal service, who want to interact with customers. They might not be experts on the products that we sell yet, but we want them to be passionate about food and to share a little bit of our passion. We actually recruit quite a lot of our own customers to come and be our shop staff because they already believe in the products, and that just makes it so much easier to sell. So yeah, for us, I think it's very hard to find very experienced staff, especially at the moment. So instead, finding people who are just passionate about food as a starting point and willing to take the time with their customers to give them that kind of personal service, to say hello to them, to have a little conversation with them that customer might not get anywhere else. That's very important, especially in a community-based business. We're in a local neighbourhood, and often people come to us every day to buy their bread roll and to have a little conversation, and for some customers that's the only interaction they might have with other people in that day. So I think we have quite an important kind of role in the community also as independent retailers, and so staff who can help to deliver that are really, really highly valued by us.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the same for us. I mean, we recruit staff in the same way that we pick products. We basically reject 49 to list that one product or to recruit that one person before they come in, and recruit for the right reasons as well. Sometimes one of our colleagues is doing his own little business and he needs a little bit of help by having a couple of days of extra work. So there's a person that is completely devoted to what he does, and by bringing our bit in his mix, he becomes devoted to what we do as well. And the best compliment that we get, me and my manager Diana, often is that our staff behaves like this is their shop. And that is very, very, very great. I mean, that's a very nice compliment. It helps that we feed them a lot of wine. But we make them part of it, and they feel very much part of it. They are very much on their own. I mean, I don't work 7 days a week in the shop, but we're open 7 days a week, and we have double shifts because we do 12 hours a day during the week. So, and we feel confident that our staff does that. But it's being patient, it's being trying, and it's also not being afraid to say after 4 shifts, I'm sorry, good friend, but this is not going to work out. You're saying no, you know, that difficult thing of saying no to someone. But you have to be tough on that one. And indeed, lately it's been more difficult to recruit because there are no recruitees. Without any disrespect, this time when I put up a job advert, I got 45 applicants from Mumbai, which I never had before because I don't know why, but I didn't get any from the UK at first. And then in the end it was different, and as much as I would like to invite anybody to come and work for us, the relevant experience isn't there. So, plus I can't offer a green card either. So yes.
But I think it's really important as well, that, and as Jan and Kate both touched on, is that the culture in the shop has to come from the person that owns the shop. And, you know, if you're not on the shop floor and you're not welcoming people, you know, a good pub with a cheery landlord, everybody in the pub, including the staff and the customers, are all cheery with the landlord. You know, if you've got a grumpy landlord, you tend to have a grumpy pub. And all I'm saying is, you know, spending time on the shop floor, leading by example, talking to customers, creating a culture where discussion is welcome in the shop. I mean, there was a gentleman we used to supply pâté to 25 years ago in South Petherton, Provinders. And I would be sampling pâté there, and somebody would come into the shop and go, "Hey, Roger, have you got half a pound of cheese?" And he would say, "Yep." And then he would say, "So what are you doing? And you say, well, I'm making cauliflower cheese. What are you doing? Well, we're having a roast dinner with some friends. Oh, you've got to try this wine. And have you thought about the biscuits? And then £2.80, it was a long time ago, of cheddar would suddenly be a £40 basket. And I would see it time and time again, that through conversation and asking questions. Now, if somebody had just come into the shop, bought half a pound of cheddar and left, they could have done that in any shop. If they, same with the butchers, the reason I keep going back to butchers is because they get recommendations and advice. And if your culture is to offer advice and people to have a good time with what they buy, they come back to you to try and get that experience again. But you've got to lead with that. You've got to create that culture in the shop. And just leaving people on the shop floor works to a certain degree, but there's no connection. There's no, what I call, in Cheers, the TV show Cheers, people might remember, a bar where everyone knows your name. And just knowing your customer's name, it creates such a different experience for the shopper.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be a huge investment of time, and you don't necessarily need to have a conversation with the customers during busy periods. Just recognition, smile. Yeah.
No, but that is actually quite labor intensive. Yes, that is your biggest investment in time, is actually taking time for your customers. For instance, in our case, because we are very much community based, and I assume that many of us here are very much in the center of their community. So trying to be a symbol group, like something like a name that is more regional, whilst your focus should be on your community, is something that you ought to recognize. You can have the ambition to be regional, but if the large part of your sales, of your footfall is coming through the community, you really need to focus on that community and adjust and amend and carry on doing that. And the big retailers, they do a lot of cross-promoting. So they have the steaks on offer, and they do a wine with that, and the wine is prominently on a gondola end, and the steaks are sort of in a chiller very near to it. Our case, with a small store, we have like 4,000 of those cross promotions, but we need to tell you because it is all in our heads. And obviously I could do a lot better. I'm sure that I could have a shop full of signage and do it much better, but that is sort of one of my weaker things, is that I'm really good at chatting to people, but I am less good at taking the time and create signs, because I'm very undecisive. So I've been looking at signs for 3 years now, but the color brown that I picked wasn't the right one. So, it's that sort of stuff, and that's why we continue talking to our customers and also realizing that we are that community hub. And from there on, you see slowly that spread, because they talk to their friends in the next town, and they talk to their friends in that next town, and people come out of curiosity. And we have, and I don't know how it is with others, but we have the big Christmas advantage. People have recognized us for being a great Christmas gift shop. So we do a lot of trade around Christmas, where we do 3 times over in December. And that's very, very helpful, because that covers August, obviously. But it does give us the chance to show off of what we do very well, and what people can expect. It's also a little bit prohibitive for other times of the year, because people think of us as the gift shop, whereas we do actually sell baked beans. But yeah, it's that. It's choose your battle, choose your moment, choose what you are. Don't just think of what you think you should be, but look around you. And that is coming back to the customer. Talk to your customer. Don't lose sight of your customer. What happened to me yesterday in that pub that I went, really, it was silly. It was not about the customer. It was all about, keeping 16-year-olds at work because they're cheap, and therefore give me a horrible experience with dirty tables, with dirty cutlery, with stupid stuff. And I don't feel that they are on the ball, and they have one of the most wonderful locations in our area.
But also talking to your customers, you find out so much about what they're looking for, what they're interested in. If you're just using your EPOS system to guess what your customers like and buy in your shop rather than talking to them, and if you talk to a customer and they say, we're really interested in this, and you find out all sorts of things about I talk to retailers all day, and one of the reasons I'm good at what I do, or the Food Club works, is because I listen and talk to retailers all day. I hear what they're looking for, and then I can supply, rather than guessing. you know?
I know when I'm on the shop floor on a busy Saturday morning, the last thing I have time to do is to have a long conversation with each customer. So there are also other ways, I think, that you can make those connections and get to know people. And one thing that we do at Holtwhites, which unfortunately we haven't been able to do for the last couple of years, but we're starting to do again, which I'm very excited about, is food and wine evenings. Which again is very much a kind of community-based thing where people buy tickets to come in and taste a menu of food and wine to showcase the range of products that we have on offer. So they sample a menu that we've put together of the wines paired with food that we've made, some of our baked goods, and also some of the deli items that we sell. And that's a nice way to do it kind of out of hours when maybe you have a bit more time to relax and kind of talk to your customers and get to know them a bit better. And it also has the same effect of the customers going away and telling everybody about it because they've had a fantastic evening, they've tried all these wonderful products. They might not buy them all at the end of the evening, but you know, within the weeks and months after that, they will come back to buy them. So again, it's a long-term investment. It's not an instant kind of way to generate sales, but it's all part of quite an important mix, I think.
No, you're very right. That is something that I would indeed like to emphasize as well. Tastings.
Yeah.
Sample whatever you can. I mean, we do that. We do it a lot. We pay for our own samples. If we can get it back from a supplier, we will take it. But we don't wait for them to offer it to us. And we've got a couple of heroes within our ranges, which we always sample on a Saturday. There's one pesto that we do of a brand that is here somewhere, Seggiano, which is a hero. When people try it, they buy it. And so we sell 25, 30 jars on an afternoon. And we do a little balsamic vinegar next to it and an oil. Those three always work. We sell an extra 500 on a Saturday like that.
Yeah.
And whatever you add to it.
Oh, yeah.
So sampling is something that I highly encourage as well, yeah. That really helps your increasing basket spend. Because people in the UK, they are actually very interestingly adventurous, but you need to spoon feed the Brits. If they look at the product, oh yeah, I'll try it sometime. But if you actually feed it to an English person, oh, that's really nice, I'll have it. Yeah. And the Dutch are less like that. You want to try it? No, it's been open. Okay. But English people, I always say, they might not know how to cook, but they love to eat. And that is what we as independents and as fine food people do really well. There's a lot of fun stuff that comes from the UK for this, for the market. And yeah, the English are very good at that.
It's a good starting point to have that conversation with your customer as well. Give them something to eat and then talk to them about it while you've got a captive audience, really. So yeah, it's really, really powerful.
And there's obviously a role for the independent retailer in curating their range and obviously having knowledge about the products that they're selling, but customer being able to come into the shop knowing that every item in the shop has been carefully chosen. How would you go about that?
By carefully choosing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we vet every product. We don't just put something on the shelf because it's there or because Marcus tells me that it's a great product. Yeah. Marcus will find that I am nice to talk to but difficult to sell to because I will try it, I will then check it on price. Everything in my shop I've priced as to what I would pay for it. And since I'm Dutch, I don't like to pay too much, and I also don't like to charge too much because it has to stay reasonable. So some are loss leaders, others I take a little bit more margin on, but overall this is sort of the price that I would like to charge you or pay for it myself. So that's how we go about it. We check every product, we taste it, we compare price, and then if it works, if all the boxes are ticked, then yes, we will try it. Yeah. We'll sample it, or we put it out on social and we try and we talk to people about it. But
yeah, it's the same for us, definitely. I would say we're quite a small shop. We have a relatively small range of deli products, especially, but they all have to hang together. Each product that we have on the shelf has to earn its place, and it also has to go with 4 or 5 other things that we sell in the shop. So it's all about kind of cross-selling things, being able to, so our customers can come into the shop and essentially put together a delicious meal with everything that's there. So every product has to go with something else, and it has to, the branding is very important for us, but visually it has to make a strong impact. It also has to be delicious, of course, otherwise we wouldn't sell it. And it has to be different from what customers can buy in a supermarket. We don't want them to be able to compare the products in our shop, especially on a price level, with the products that they can buy in the supermarket, because as Jan said, we'll never be able to match the supermarkets on price. We probably can't even buy the products as cheap as some supermarkets sell them. So we have to be different, we have to be unique, and we have to keep on changing the products as well, like Jan said, innovating, giving people new things to try. We have a core range that we know there'll be people will be up in arms if we stop selling them because they love them so much, but then there are others that we can introduce and change.
So the air of discovery is a massive part of what we do, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Marcus, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I'm sort of from the other side of the fence because I'm trying to sell products to retailers, but I mean, I've sold hundreds, thousands of products to hundreds and thousands of shops, but what's fascinating is what works in one shop doesn't work in another shop. You know, we can launch a brand into 4 Eat 17s and it only works in one. I've launched brands into 7 Whole Foods and it's only worked in 2. It is tough. You know, I've had retailers say to me, "Oh, I don't think we'll stock that. It's never going to sell." And then a week later, or even 3 days later, they're phoning up saying, "Oh my God, it's all gone." And then I've got other retailers that go, "My God, this is amazing. I'll take 10 cases." Then I phone them up a week later, and they go, "I haven't sold any." You know, it's really tough. But it's this on the shop floor, getting to feel for what. Not overcommitting on first orders. I'm a big fan of. I don't like shops taking big first orders because it's really hard to know how consumers are going to react. But like I repeat myself a little bit, a lot of consumers want to try new things. They just need a little bit of encouraging, a little bit of help just to make that first decision. You know, if you're in a shop and you're looking at 5 products of similar type and somebody just says, "You know what, that one's really nice," you sort of go, "Oh, great," and then you pick that one. Obviously, you hope that's it. But it's just being around to support consumers. But I think it's hard for retailers because, you know, you can, as Jan says, you can do all the research and all the understanding, and then your customers just don't engage with it. And then other products that you think are never going to work end up being, you know, $6,000 a month sales. So, but it's trying lots of different things. And also, again, pushing the food club a little bit, it's finding things that your competitors haven't got. You know, there are so many small artisan producers around the UK making amazing food locally in Kent and in Cambridgeshire and in Oxfordshire that people in Tunbridge Wells or Devon or Exeter have got no access to those foods. And, you know, if you're waiting until these products are with the other main wholesalers, they're then available in all the other shops. And it's creating, innovation. It's being known in the local area of having products that nobody else has got. You know, everybody's got the same core brands. Everybody's got the same local brands. I mean, again, I'll be careful what I say here, but everybody's obsessed with local. And I'm thinking to myself as a consumer, well, if I can buy the honey in 6 farm shops, 2 delis, the butchers, the garage, the post office, and actually I know the lady that makes it, so I buy it off her direct. Having local products is great, but it doesn't give you a competitive edge in the local area. And, you know, going outside of where you are and finding products that then allow people to think of your shop as somewhere that's ahead of the competition. You know, products that other shops haven't got. So if somebody finishes something and they like it, they then go back to that retailer to buy it. Not, well, we'll just grab it in the next shop we see. So that's sort of, you know, I think it's really important. I always say supermarkets about consistency, independents are about discovery. They're just my views. And that fits my company brilliantly, so.
There's a lot of influences changing shopper budgets and shopper habits at the moment. How do you stay sensitive to them while still increasing basket spend and supporting your business?
Influencers?
So cost of living crisis, things like that.
Influencers, sorry. I thought influencers like the famous Instagrammers. No, okay. That's what we've all been doing every day, I think. Every day is a crisis in a way, isn't it? There's always something whether it is a whole brand that we've been selling really well for month after month after month, and then suddenly, as if all our shoppers had agreed on it, they stopped buying it. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know to what purpose, and I had just bought 19 cases from Marcus, plus one free, to get the brand, to give it even like a pallet drop almost in my shop. And people just sort of walk around it and say, oh, there's nothing new here. Every day is a crisis in that respect. Of course, uncomparable to today's crisis with electricity, which is my biggest fear for our peer situation more. I mean, independent businesses can't survive. I have heard of too many independents now that don't renew their contract, they go on variable, and the day that it hits too high is when they will shut the business, which is basically the beginning of the end. Or people that simply don't renew and don't continue their business. Brokers in electricity that told me about so many businesses that they spoke with that said, no, we're not going to renew, we're going to draw the line here because it's prohibitive. I was looking to expand, I've been working on that since March, to open a second unit for a more seating area opposite our existing shop. And 2-3 weeks ago, after sitting down with the broker for electricity, I had to decide that it's just not the time. I've spent six months on getting ready for this, but when I get the key and the lease in my hand in October, November, the electricity price, which is, I would be paying like £500-600 a month now on the old rates, I would go to £2,500-3,000 then. Well, there's no way that is a viable business model at the moment. And that is for a new business, so I fear for any existing business at this point. The broker lightly mentioned, why don't you increase your prices? And I told him, look, you're not the only one that comes with higher prices. Everything has gone up, as we all know. And how to deal with that is to find that balance. I mean, we are looking at cutting lines that are more exotic from further away, that are a bit more expensive. So we might not want to continue selling £5.95 packs of Cantuccini biscuits, but find something that is a little bit closer to home, that could be an equivalent. It is about us trying to reintroduce stuff, but it means a whole new discussion or dialogue that you need to have with your shoppers, which is part of our job, but it's also, it will hinder all of us. Anything we do is a change, and change means that you go through a one step back, two steps ahead moment. And unfortunately, we're in that one step back moment now. And I think we just need to sing it out and see the best what we can do. We're thinking of changing the shop by adding a deli counter, reducing the number of grocery items, because a deli counter in our heads is a place where we stand behind and you, the shopper, come to us to ask something. So I don't have to approach you on the floor where you didn't ask me to come to you, which we do anyway. And 99 out of 100 times it goes well. There's always one that doesn't. But I think the psychology of people stepping up to a deli counter, asking us for a bit of cheese, and we say, oh, try this olive as well, and do this, we already have established that they're asking something from us, so we can give them something, and it is not sort of unasked for, it's not unsolicited. So I feel that might help us. And also I can then sell, instead of selling a pre-packed salami 90 grams for $3.95, I can sell 150 grams for $3.65. So we all win a little bit. My margin remains. We have a different play. We stay fresh as a shop, and it will change a little bit of what people can find with us after 4 years, because we've been in business 4 years as this shop. So, in case it helps.
Yeah. So we're a producer as well as a retailer, which means that we see quite clearly the impact of increasing costs, and I think that in a way gives us an advantage in that we can explain to our customers exactly why prices have to go up, and we hope that we've managed to establish a good enough relationship with them and to generate enough loyalty with them over the past 10 years or so that they will continue to support us, because the bottom line is if they don't, then we won't survive. So I think really just staying true to our principles, continuing to offer a really quality product so that people understand why it costs more and that they feel it's worth paying more for as prices do rise, which they will have to. not trying to dilute our brand. I think that would be the worst thing that we could try to do. We don't want to become cost-driven. We don't want to try and make things cheaper because customers will see that. I think they will very quickly see if we start to cut corners. So yeah, I think for us just staying true to our principles, trying to position us as selling hopefully fairly affordable luxuries. They're small food items that we're selling, you know, a piece of cake, a nice cup of coffee. These are things that make people's lives a bit nicer, hopefully, and we just hope that they'll continue to pay for those things.
Yeah, I mean, I sell lots of products, thousands of products, but in my books, as long as the price matches the quality, then everyone's fine. There is nothing worse than paying £6-7 for a chutney or £7 or £8 for a jam. That's quite expensive. But if you get an amazing experience, handmade, artisan, small batches, quality ingredients, people expect to pay more for that product. You know, people might choose that they can't afford it or they don't want to buy it. That's a choice. But as long as the price matches the quality, I think everyone, quality wins out in the long run. It's a much more stable market. It's a much more loyal market. People find it hard. I mean, I always say the older you get, the better wine you drink. It's not because you buy better wine. It's you can't drink shit wine anymore. You know, you've just got older. And it's the same with food. You know, when you start experiencing nicer food, the price goes up. It has to go up. You know, when you're a student eating pot noodles, everything's fine. But you can't be 57 and eating pot noodles. You have to be eating a really nice handmade. I mean, you know, there's pastas on the market for £10 that people buy happily because that's the stage in life where they're at, you know, and it's understanding that people are willing to increase their basket spend, people are willing to buy better quality food as long as it's better, higher price food, as long as there's quality there. And then you end up making better margin, you know, rather than, you know, 5 or 6 items, you know, with an average basket of £6 or £8. You know, if you can get an average basket in your shop of £18, £20, I mean, there are butchers out there with, I keep coming back to butchers, I'm sorry, but there's butchers out there with really high average basket spend, you know, because people buy quality, you know, for £30, £40, some of them are running out, you know. And other shops, you know, are trying to go for a smaller spend, cheaper items. I don't know, I just think quality and a price that matches is always going to win the race.
Thanks, that's all of my questions. Are there any questions from the audience at all? We've got a few minutes.
Thanks. Hello. Thanks very much. I was just wondering, when it comes to doing tastings, do you ever involve suppliers, and do you sort of have suppliers educating your staff on how to sell the product?
For us, we have had suppliers involved in that, and I absolutely love it when suppliers offer to come and do tastings. I would literally jump at the chance. It's really powerful. I mean, as I said, we're a producer. When you've made the product yourself, you're really passionate about it and believe in it, and you're the best person to educate the staff and your customers about it. So when suppliers do that for us, especially if they've got a very strong connection with producing the item, then that's really, really helpful, very powerful. And it creates a little buzz. It's an event, and people get excited about it. So yeah, we do like to do that.
Yeah, it was actually the last thing that I wanted to add is, before the question, was know who you sell to and know what you're selling. So we make it our sport to know as much as we can about every product, brand, producer behind it, because that is what sets us apart. So, and with tastings, yes, we try to get suppliers on board, but sometimes I couldn't be bothered to wait for them. So we go for our own, because on a Saturday we have a good day, but there's never like a peak moment where we say, okay, supplier, why don't you come here between 11 and 2, because that's the busiest time, because that Saturday it might just well be that there's a match and they all come after 2. So we just have our stuff out, we know what we're selling. I try also to push some things of brands that I used to work for myself, so that I can sort of relate back to me having been the producer or supplier. But it's knowing. Just try, every brand, especially in the independent brands, every brand has a hero within. An Italian brand has as a hero a pesto. A sauce maker, like some of you might know Auntie Sauces as an example, which is a Indian dipping sauces. Their Indian ketchup of the 4 is the most sort of eye-catching one because they sell best. Take that one. So use the hero products within each brand and put them out yourself. Don't be afraid to spend £2.50 or £3 or £4 on a product, opening it yourself. Don't wait for them to come and say, oh, we'll send you a free product, because then you've missed 5 tasting opportunities. And you'll see that I always say I'm in the wrong business if I can't sell a couple of more jars of one line because I cut down on the margin, or I invest a little bit in opening my own sample, then I would do a stupid job, right? I'm in the wrong business if I can't sell a few more bits. And that's how you have to think. This is what you do. This is your job. Our job as independents is to let people know about stuff. When people tell me, your shop is a bit expensive. Yeah, but compared to what? There's no product here that you will find at Sainsbury's over there. So it's not a discussion that I should have, because as a Dutchman, I easily get irritated with that sort of questions and remarks. I'm not very diplomatic, but I'll find my way and just do it. And if you can get suppliers in, by all means, do. But don't wait for them.
I spend a lot of time working with suppliers, 300 at any one time, and through age and all my life, I've always worked in food or retail. And I say to food producers, if you're doing a tasting in a shop, which is interesting you use that expression, it's a staff training. If you turn up to a retailer with the intention of selling 30 jars on a Saturday and leaving, I'm not going to say it was a pointless exercise, but in the big scheme of things, in a shop that's open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, your exposure in that shop was so small. But you had 4 hours or 5 hours where you could talk to the staff, where you could talk to the owner, where you could get them to taste it, where you could make up little gift bags for everyone in the shop to take home. And I also encourage retailers, when you do have a tasting scheduled in the shop, that you make sure that all the staff spend at least 5 or 10 minutes with the producer, that the producer doesn't turn up. You've got an opportunity for what I call staff training, free staff training. Now some staff will engage and some won't, but it's a great opportunity. And I say to food producers, it's not a tasting, it's a staff training. And you've got to think of it as a staff training. Turn up in the shop with every intention of spending 4 hours engaging with every member of staff and the owner, and do as much as you can with them, and then leave. If you happen to sell 40 jars, well, that's just a bonus, because then everybody's up to speed with your product. But if somebody phoned up and said, can we open up the shop an hour early and can I come in and do a staff training, you'd be like, no, that's not going to happen. But you've got this great opportunity, so don't think of it as a tasting. On both sides, it should be a staff training. That's my view.
I think that's everything we have time for. So thanks so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for coming to the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.